November 21st, 2019. From El Cajon, California, this is episode 195 of You Can Bet on That. Hi, everybody. Welcome to You Can Bet on That, podcast for the recreational gambler. My name is Mark Duvall, and sitting across from me is Dr. Mike.
Hello.
Mike, as you know... Oh, dear. Here it starts. Poor Mike and his cough. Are we going to be able to get through the episode?
I don't know. I got this terrible lingering cough.
Yeah. Well, Mike, as you know, sports betting is sweeping the nation. There's virtually no place you can go where you can't bet on sports.
Hawaii.
That's Hawaii's
Utah.
one. Utah. And California, now that you bring it up. So if you'll indulge us here, we want to talk about California sports wagering here because something came up recently that caught our eye. Now, back in June, a couple of California congressmen introduced legislation that would amend the California Constitution to authorize and regulate sports wagering. Now, if that amendment goes through, it would probably be sometime next year. And the details are still not ironed out. I did a little research, and I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not sure, but it looks like it's relatively small. Basically, it's just one line that reads, "The legislature by statute may authorize and provide for the regulation of sports wagering."
And so, that's a bill by itself, or it's tagged on with some?
That would be an amendment to the Constitution. And that would say
amendment to the California Constitution.
Right.
What does that take to pass an amendment to a Constitution?
I believe it's 2/3.
2/3.
Yeah. But since our last episode, a coalition of 18 Native American tribes have come up with their own proposed constitutional amendment that they're hoping to get on the November 2020 ballot. Mike, when you and I were first talking about this, we were thinking, is it going to be the primary ballot? Maybe earlier, but no, I was looking into it. So it wouldn't be until November 2020 that this, from the tribes, would actually be on the ballot. And I'm sure it'll get on the ballot. They've got a lot of backing and what have you.
Sure.
But they've laid out some specifics, one of which is very interesting to us. So let's go through some of them. So it starts out by saying the California Sports Wagering Regulation and Unlawful Gambling Enforcement Act will safeguard consumers and provide protections by, and then there's this bulleted list. And, I'll let you know how things like this are. A lot of it doesn't seem like it's protecting the public so much as generating revenue.
Right.
Right.
Well,
but, that's the way they phrase it.
That's what it is doing, is generating revenue so they can waste it somewhere else.
So let's cherry pick some of these bullet points here. So it says, permitting limited sports wagering at Indian gaming casinos and licensed racetracks. So right there, it's limiting, where you can make these wagers.
Right.
Or what organizations you can do it through, right? You wouldn't be able to go down to 7-Eleven, and make a bet.
That's terrible. Seriously. I mean, I'd like to go to 7-Eleven, make a bet on the Lakers, and buy a Rockstar and a bag of chili-flavored Fritos.
Oh, yeah, those are good.
Chili
and maybe get a Slurpee, but you mix the wild cherry and the Coke.
Yeah.
That's always a good way to do that.
That's a good way. Yeah, that's a good one.
Well, you can't do that, Dr. Mike. And you won't be able to either. So let's get to the second bullet, because this kind of really brings it home. It says, only permitting sports wagering by those over 21 to safeguard against underage gambling. All right, that's fine.
It's no 18-year-olds.
And requiring bettors to be physically present to place sports wagers.
So no app.
Yeah, there would
no
be
phone
no
app.
Yeah, so that's terrible.
That's really bad because then you'd have to go to the casino every day, which is what the casinos want.
Yeah.
Right?
But, I'm not going to go every day to the casino.
No, who can?
The way you and I bet, we like to bet a little amount on a lot of games.
Right.
And I'm certainly not going to go there every day. That's what's great about having
Well, you'd
an app.
have to go early in the morning to place your bets, right? And sometimes you make bets, and then later in the day you make more bets.
Yeah.
So, you're not going to go to the casino in the morning, make some bets, and then come back later to make more bets.
So we don't like that.
Yeah.
All right, another bullet here. Prohibiting wagering on any high school sports or athletic events. Well, that's fine, sure.
No, I don't like that.
You don't?
No.
You want to be able to bet on high school games?
I want to bet on the Caledonia Warriors in Minnesota. I want to bet on them every week.
Okay, all right.
State champs again.
They did again, right? Yeah.
Going to be,
yeah. And prohibiting wagering on sports events in which any California college team participates. Now,
because those are easy to fix, those college games.
I think this is also bad because, okay, there are going to be gambling scandals, right? Going forward, it's not like gambling scandals are never going to happen again.
No.
But typically, if there's going to be a college scandal, it's not going to be a bunch of the student athletes getting together, deciding to throw a game or shave points or whatever, and bet on their own.
Right.
Typically, it's going to be somebody with nefarious
intentions
coming in and, offering them money to throw a game or something like that.
And that person's probably not betting in California. They're probably in Vegas putting some serious coin down on, a game, right?
And if you're really worried about the student athletes actually, making wagers or, hey, if they want to make wagers
they
have somebody make
unless
wagers.
They're over 21.
Well, what I'm saying is they'll find a way.
Right.
This rule in the amendment is not going to prevent somebody who really wants to make a bet on a college game maybe that they're playing in. It's not going to prevent them from
all
doing
they have to do is tell their older 22-year-old brother, hey, put some money down in this game. I'm going to play poorly or whatever.
But I can understand them putting it in, right? Because people who might be against sports, okay, at least they put that in for the colleges, right? But here's the thing that really caught our eye. It's the last bullet point here. Permitting craps and roulette at Indian gaming casinos.
Yeah, tagged on. I love how they always tag stuff on.
Now, we always thought that nobody would actually introduce any kind of legislation just to fix craps and roulette here in California where they have to use cards. We knew that wouldn't happen, but we were hoping that it might be added to something else. Yeah. And this is the perfect example of that.
Well, this is the casinos looking after their own interest because they want to get rid of those cards.
Yes.
Because it just complicates their life.
And the players would prefer it too. It's really a win-win. Nobody likes the cards here for roulette and craps, right? And I can't imagine anybody out there thinking we really need to keep the cards on craps and roulette. They might be against the games completely, but there's nobody saying, yeah, the craps and roulette's okay, but it really needs to be based on cards.
Well, I don't know if there's nobody. There's always somebody. That's the thing with stuff like this. There's going to be somebody who's against it. And they're going to have some crackpot reason to be against it, right?
Yeah.
Let me tell you a quick story.
All right.
A few years back, the state of Missouri introduced a bill that the people had to vote on the intent of the bill was to get rid of cockfights.
Okay.
So that's what it started off as. And they added a bunch of stuff in there along with the real intention, which was to get rid of cockfighting, which I think most people were for.
Sure.
They added a bunch of other stuff. And one of the things was you couldn't use live bait to fish. So you couldn't get a worm or a minnow. You couldn't use any live bait. So some group decided, let's put this in there. And another thing was that no man could wrestle a bear.
Okay, well, I can understand them adding that.
That was from circuses who would declaw bears and have somebody wrestle them. So somebody felt that needed to be added too.
Okay.
So we're sitting at the breakfast table. I'm back in Missouri visiting relatives, and my uncle was so fired up. He was so mad about this bill because they had introduced all this other stuff, and he was a hunter and fisherman. He was so mad. His farm was near a highway, and he put signs up and down his farm on the highway, vote no on blah, blah, blah. And it was all because of the live bait for fishing.
Sure. It had nothing to do with the cockfighting.
No, he did not like the live bait. Right. Anyway, we're sitting at the table, and he turns to me, and I'm eating, and I about choked when he looked at me, and he says, and another thing, damn it, if a man wants to get in a ring and fight a bear, that ought to be his God-given right. Now, that uncle has since passed, but I always think of him saying, it's your God-given right. If you want to get in a ring and wrestle a bear, you should be allowed to do that.
I think that you should, as long as the bear still has its claws.
Yeah, right.
All right, so that should have been part of the thing everybody was voting on.
Yeah, they should have voted to not declaw him, not that you couldn't wrestle him.
You just couldn't declaw him ahead of time.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But, every time some kind of law gets passed or something, I read those things on our ballots because they always add in stuff.
Well, and there are probably going to be more groups that come up with their own plan that will try to introduce things to go on the ballot. Right. So
just to confuse things.
This isn't the end of it, but at least we're hoping at the end of all this that we'll have real craps and roulette in the casino. And of course, we're also hoping that if and when, I'm sure it's inevitable, sports wagering does come here, we can bet on an app on our phones.
Right. Yeah. Well, it'd be nice if they had the app. But there's going to be some groups who are going to be against it, and they're going to have a ton of commercials, and one of them is going to be you and I at a craps table, and the dice are going to be rolled, and we're going to turn to look for the cards when there's no cards, and the stick man's going to say, 7 out, line away.
No, it'll be, it'll come up 4-6 on the dice.
Yeah.
And we're thinking, great, the point was 10, and then they'll show them turning over the cards and it's actually a 7, and that's how the ad will go. It's like, and then we're really depressed. We like a tear goes down our eye, like that old commercial, right, where the Indian chief is looking, right. So
that's for the proponents for it.
No, I'm saying, look how sad we are because we have to do with this. We need to change the law,
right? Yeah. So they're the proponents for the bill. I'm thinking it's going to be the people who are against it.
Oh, okay.
Saying, see how much happier there'd be. That wouldn't be a 7 out.
All right, so stay tuned. Hey, if you have a chance, please go and listen to 2 recent episodes of Gambling with an Edge. There is this businessman, Jim McInvale, and I might be pronouncing that wrong, but he goes by Mattress Mac. He's the owner of the Gallery Furniture retail chain, and, he's very successful, very shrewd businessman.
Yeah. He's the Earl Scheib of mattresses.
Okay. He might or might not like that. But he's on TV all the time, goes by Mattress Mac. He had a promotion going through his stores where this last year, if you bought $3,000 or more worth of furniture and the Houston Astros ended up winning the World Series, he would refund your money. Great campaign.
So does he like the Houston Astros?
Oh, he loves the Houston Astros.
Okay.
Oh, he's a huge fan.
It's hard to know, right?
And he took out insurance on this promotion.
Of course, yeah.
But if the Astros were to eventually win, the insurance he'd take quite a beating, right? The insurance just wouldn't cover enough. So he enlisted the help of Anthony Curtis and Frank B. to basically make a bunch of wagers on the Astros leading up to the World Series.
Right, to cover his losses from the furniture.
And they talked about it on 2 episodes of Gambling with an Edge, and it's really fascinating. So I'm urging people to go and listen to that. It's the episodes dated November 7th and 14th, 2019. Go back and listen to it, and you can hear all that, how they went about it, the frustrations they had, the difficulties, what they were trying to do. It's really interesting.
It'd be very complicated trying to work that out where you make enough bets so that you cover some of your losses, but you can't make too many bets because if they lose...
Well, and see, they're betting going up to the World Series.
Right.
So, they're betting during the playoffs. They're doing all sorts of different bettings and trying to get the money down and the cash. And I'll tell you, Circa Sports came out of the whole story looking pretty well because that was the easiest sports book they worked with when you listen to it.
That was the one that would take their bets.
Is, even though they're young, they're really establishing themselves as player friendly when it comes to, making ways. But anyway, go listen to those episodes if you haven't already. We got an email from listener Greg. He said, "How do you guys play roulette when and if you play? I know the rules, and I also know that it's a negative EV game, so you're always going to lose money in the long run. But I'd like a method that's fun and can keep me playing for a little while, other than just betting on red over and over. Any recommendations?" So I'm going to start here, Mike. Because mine is extremely boring, and I do bet on red every time. You've seen when we don't play roulette that often.
No.
But that's pretty much all I'm doing is making one of those even money bets. If it's not red or black, it's odd or even or something like that. And that is kind of the way that I enjoy playing. And if I'm lucky enough to be on a table that has the la partage or the en prison rule, that's where if you're making an even money bet, like on red or black, and 0 comes up, you basically only lose half your wager. Right. So, it reduces the house edge a little bit.
In that case, that's a good thing.
My understanding is there are some casinos in Las Vegas that offer this. But anyway, I'm going on and on. That's all I do. I know it's boring. So, Mike, do you have any
I don't have anything fun other than I like to play numbers that are significant to me.
Well, do you only bet straight up, or do you bet the corners, or what? I mean, what do you do? Are you just
I take the birthdays of my children, my wife, and myself, and I bet straight up on those numbers. Plus, I surround those numbers on all four corners.
Oh, okay, right on the corners. Gotcha.
Right.
Uh-huh.
So, like, let's say 25. It's my youngest daughter's date of birth. I'll put money on 25, and then on each of the corners, the four corners of the 25, I'll put a chip.
Okay.
Too, so I get the other ones around it. So in case it just misses,
misses, right?
Not really just miss, because some of those numbers aren't.
Yeah, they're not next to each other on the wheel, but sure, right. Yeah, of course.
But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So that's what I do, and I find that fun, and I just do the same thing over and over every time, hoping that I get lucky.
Yeah, and that's really all we can say. And I don't know that that's fun necessarily. I don't think we can give you very good advice, actually, Greg, because that's one of the reasons we don't play roulette is because we don't really have fun playing it.
No, no, I don't find it that fun, and I don't understand. I watch some people who just randomly every time pick numbers.
Yeah,
and they just 5 or 6 numbers. And then the next time it's 5 or 6 different numbers. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know how much fun that is.
I don't know. Maybe, Greg, just go to a table and watch how people play, and maybe you'll find something.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, if you're single, and I don't know if Greg is or not, my advice is go to the table and play like the prettiest woman there is playing.
Oh, just do exactly what she's doing?
Just do exactly what she's doing, and then that's a starter for a conversation.
Or she's going to, walk away and report you for stalking or something to that
Well,
effect.
Of course, there's always that.
Yeah. There's no bad PR, is there?
No. And if she reports you, all you do is say, hey, I was just playing roulette. Her system looked fun.
All right. Well, if anybody does want to find out more about the La Partage and the En Prison that I talked about, go back to episode 90 where we talk about it. We got an email from listener Mark. He said, when I arrive at the table, does it matter from a comps perspective, or any other perspective for that matter, whether I buy in with cash or chips? Also, does it make any difference the amount you buy in for? And I know we have talked about this in the past, but we recommend that you buy in for cash, because sometimes if you come up to a table with just chips, they won't even notice.
Right.
Because the dealer doesn't have to call the pit over and say, cashing in for $500, whatever, that you've just got chips. So,
and if it's not a significant amount, like you don't come with some pink chips or yellow chips, they don't even track that.
Well, even Mark said that he noticed at least once when he went up to a table just with chips that it didn't show up as him buying in at all.
Right.
So, yeah. And then as far as does it make any difference how much you buy in for, again, we always recommend buy in for maybe more than you intend to play with, because maybe that will also catch some attention from the floor. So, yeah, go ahead and do that. It certainly doesn't hurt to buy in for more, as long as you've got the discipline to not bet at all if you really don't intend to. And
in a lot of places, this is what I believe, that the pit bosses look at your initial bets.
Well, sure,
and
we talked
track
about that,
you on that.
Yeah.
And so, buy in for a little more than you're willing to gamble with, knowing that you're not going to go into that. Mm-hmm. And then make your first bets maybe, 1.5 times.
Yeah, if you're able to do it, bet heavier right away.
Right away. Mm-hmm. And then just go back down after, because they track that, they put it in their computer, they walk away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So then you're at that level for at least a while until maybe they come back and notice, well, he's betting less now.
Yep, absolutely. Now, on the last episode, we were talking about sometimes at a casino, you don't get a W-2G tax form. Instead, you would get a 1099 miscellaneous. If, for example, you won some kind of drawing, or you won some money at a blackjack or a slot tournament, right? Those aren't technically gambling winnings. They're more like sweepstakes winnings. So instead, you'll get a 1099 miscellaneous. Well, thanks to listener Larry for calling us on this. And even when I was editing the last episode, I'm kind of thinking, we don't want to mislead people. But in the course of our conversation, we kind of implied that you could deduct gambling losses from earnings on a 1099 miscellaneous. And that's absolutely not true, because they're not gambling winnings. So a general good blanket statement is never follow any legal or tax advice that you might hear from us on the show. Just don't follow it. Do your own research. Talk to a real lawyer and a real accountant.
Well, Larry said you cannot deduct gambling losses from 1099 miscellaneous, but what he should have added is a comma, and they say you cannot legally deduct that. Because you can deduct anything you want, I'm pretty sure. It may not be legal, and it may shoot your tax return back and you may get audited. But yeah, when you're doing it, you can deduct anything, right?
Okay. So I guess having listened to you say that, I'm going to fall back on what I just said, which is let's just say don't follow any of our advice. How about that?
Well, we're not CPAs.
No, we're not. That's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up. And we're not lawyers.
We're just two idiots talking on the whatever.
Well, this last weekend, we met listeners Richard and Juzana, and they are from Edmonton. And I got the I don't know about you, Mike, but I got the feeling when Richard was playing with us that we were just really overemphasizing the fact that he was Canadian.
Yeah.
And it's not like we've never met Canadian people before, but we just kept going on.
Yeah, but it wasn't on purpose. We were teasing because he was the only Canadian there.
Yeah, well, okay. At the time, yeah, that's true. So anyway, Richard, I hope you had a good time. It was nice to meet you.
I could not pronounce his wife's name. I am so sorry. And I just said, I'll just call you Carol if that's okay. And she's like, that's my mom's name.
Oh, that's right. I think it was Juzana.
Yeah.
If
I'm so bad with names. There's no way I'm going to remember that.
Hey, thanks to everyone who's been clicking through our Amazon link. Remember, whenever you're going to buy something through Amazon, please go to our page first, youcanbetonthat.com, and click through our Amazon link towards the top of the page. All right, let's move into some voicemails. First up is Neil.
Hello, Mark and Dr. Mike. It's Neil from Riverside. I don't want to sound like a shill for Paula, right? But I went back there with a bunch of my agents last week. I like to do field trips with some of my guys, because Paula sent me an invite saying that any new sign-ups to their Privileges reward card, they're going to be giving $50 in free play. And I just thought that was borderlining a advantage play. And a lot of my agents, I'm in finance and stuff, a lot of my agents hear me talk about playing craps and that kind of thing, and they all wanted to learn. So we all flocked down on a Tuesday morning to Paula and got everyone, $50 in free play. Now, their craps table didn't open till 11. I was talking to the pit, and they said it's because they don't have anyone on Graveyard that knows how to deal. So it was actually great. I got to show them and explain all the basics of the standard bets without any of the stuff in the middle on a table that was closed that didn't have anyone even on it. And so by the time 11 o'clock rolled around, everyone had a good grasp and had their questions asked, and it was a really great experience. At very least, everyone turned their $50 free play into $75 of real money, and then we just enjoyed the rest of the casino and had some lunch. Yeah, not a shill for Paula, but man, with the comps I'm getting reducing every month from Vajonga, I wouldn't mind driving south another 15 minutes to get to Paula. It's a nice enough place. Great blackjack, great craps, friendly dealers. It's a good stuff. So thank you guys so much for all that you do, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.
All right, so we got to get to Paula. We get the point. Yeah. We keep saying about it.
Well, you know what? It's funny that this call comes in because my mother just told me that on Saturday, my father, and my brother went to Paula, and they were shocked at how dead it was.
Really?
Yes, on a Saturday night. My mother was like, oh my gosh, they went to Harrah's first, Rincon, right. And they said it was so packed and busy, and they went to Paula, and they was like significantly quieter.
Yeah, we've talked about it.
And it seems like they're having problems. Yeah. They were surprised. So maybe this $50 sign-up thing has something to do with the lack of people who are actually going or trying to get new patrons, which is a good way. I mean, I'm not against the $50. I think that's wonderful. Yeah. But they must be having some issues.
All right. Maybe we'll give them some love then here soon. All right. Next is Trevor.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. It's Trevor from Columbus, Ohio. I was calling to give a trip report about a recent guys' trip that we took to Harrah's Laughlin. I know when a lot of people hear Laughlin, they think of old people, and I'm happy to say that while I'm 35 and probably one of the younger people there, it's not as bad as it's made out to be. The great thing about Laughlin is that there are low table limits, $5 pretty much anywhere you go for about any game. I'm a craps player solely, and so to have a $5 table and be able to play across on all the place bets and do max odds is ideal for me. So we just had a really good time. I was able to play a ton and get in a ton of tier credits during my trip, but I really want to say that the morning and afternoon crews at Harrah's Laughlin at the craft tables are just amazing. They're super friendly. They're outgoing. We tip them really well to thank them for their service. And I wanted to share one story that happened while we were there. So my younger brother, who's 10 years younger than me, was playing with me, and we had a really good run one day where the table just stayed hot all day. And every time he would get a green chip, he would put it in his pocket. And the dealer started noticing that his pocket got larger and larger, and all he ever had in his rack were red chips. And so we had that day hit the all tall small on one side or the other about 5 or 6 times, and we had hit the all twice. And so the second time that we hit the all and they realized that he was pocketing all these green chips, they decided to pay him his $300 and some odd for $2 on the all in red chips. So it was funny to see them slide them 3 stacks of red chips and some individual chips to pay him off, and everybody at the table got a big kick out of that. So just wanted to share my great experience at Harrah's Laughlin. I hope other people will try it out. Thanks, guys, for the show. Take care.
I know that we would love to go back to Laughlin. I just can't see us doing it anytime soon now that there are casinos close to us. The last time we went was some 20 years ago when they didn't really have full-blown casinos around here. But I'm sure we'd have a great time, just be gamble all day. So,
it's nice and quiet because all the old people go to bed about 8:30.
Yeah,
my dad complains about that. Oh, the casino's quiet after like 9. Everyone went to bed.
Yeah,
all those old people. I'm like, you're in your 90. You're the old person.
Yeah, but he's still up.
Yeah.
All right, next call.
Hey guys, this is Guillermo from the OC. Had a quick question, observation. Last time I was in Vegas, I was playing face-up high gal at the Cromwell, and I thought the benefit of that is because you could see the dealer's hand, you could set your hand in a way that would tie or push. And when I was trying to do that, the dealer said, no, I couldn't set my hand a way that it would push. I'd have to send my hand the house way, which meant that I was losing. And I thought I should be able to set my hand any way I want. There is no house way when playing Pai Gow. The dealer only had to do it the house way. What do you guys know about this? Just curious to find out if this was just a bad setup or if this is just the norm. Because if so, what's the point of face up if you can't place your hand in order to tie or to the dealer? All right. Have a great day. Love the show. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Yeah, Guillermo, the dealer didn't know what they were talking about.
Yeah.
That is the whole point of face-up Pai Gow poker. You probably should have called the floor over. Because, otherwise you just say, okay, I'm going to bet $5 every hand here, and I'm going to go get a drink at the bar. Let me know after 20 hands how I did.
Right.
No, that's the whole point, is you play your hand maybe differently than you normally would because you can see what the dealer has.
Yeah, well, and did they take the advantage, the dealer advantage?
Yeah, see, that's the thing, right? It's a push on ace high. When the dealer has ace high, everybody's a push. So now what makes up for that if the players have to play house way? Yeah, that's too bad. So hopefully that dealer has been...
right, that might have been a dealer who did not quite understand what they were doing.
Yeah, that's bad.
Must have been the morning at Cromwell.
Probably. That's where we have most of our bad experiences with the crew.
Experiences in the morning.
Yeah. All right, next up is James.
Hi, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is James calling from Salt Lake City. On your last episode, John from New York, who was going on a cross-country trip, gave a report about his poker experience at the Peppermill Casino in Wendover, Nevada. And after that call, y'all had mentioned that it was another good story about Wendover, and in fact, Dr. Mike even said, I don't think we've ever had a bad story about Wendover. Well, unfortunately, I have a bad story and some bad news to report about Wendover. I was out there this past Tuesday, and I sat down at a blackjack table at the Montego Bay Casino. One of the nice things about Wendover is the blackjack table limits are really low, usually $5 minimums, and on this particular Tuesday night, the table I sat at had a $3 minimum, and almost all of the tables in Wendover are single deck. So I'm playing, and after a few hands, I was dealt a soft 19, ace-8, and the dealer was showing a 6. So right away, I placed my cards in front of my bet, and I put another chip down to double down. Well, at that point, the dealer informed me that doubling down is only allowed on hard 9, 10, or 11. I was pretty disappointed because for the last several years, I've enjoyed going out to Wendover and playing because you've been able to double down on any 2 cards at any of the casinos in Wendover. Wendover has 5 casinos. 3 of them, including Montego Bay, are owned by the Peppermill Resorts. And then the other 2 casinos, the Wendover Nugget and Red Garter, are run by Maverick Gaming. About 8 or 9 years ago or so, all of the Wendover casinos did switch from being able to double on any 2 cards to only being able to double on 9, 10, 11. And it didn't last a super long time because so many players complained and the casinos went back to allowing double down on any 2 cards. So I'm hoping the Wendover casinos will reverse course once again soon so I can go back out there and play blackjack again, because without it, I'm not sure that I would. Anyway, I know you have a few listeners who visit Wendover on occasion, so maybe this information will be helpful to them if they're planning on playing blackjack out in Wendover. Thanks again for creating new episodes of my favorite podcast, and take care.
Oh, thanks, James.
Thanks.
Yeah, blackjack players who know what they're doing want to be able to double down on any 2 cards. That is more advantageous. But I think it was originally called like Reno rules or Northern Nevada rules, they call it, right?
Right, Northern Nevada rules. I remember hearing
double
that.
on 9, 10, and 11. But at the same time, when the house does not allow you to double on anything, only 9, 10, and 11, it only increases the house edge a less than 0.2%. And depending on the other rules and decks and what have you, it might be closer to 0.1%. So it's not that much, but I can understand, hey, if blackjack players who know what they're doing, that's what they want to do.
Yeah.
So, James, maybe that'll change your mind a little bit if you realize that it's not too much of an advantage, but hopefully they'll actually change the rules back to the way they were.
Well, if people complain, they will.
About that. Now, a couple of things. James said he was playing a single deck game and he wanted to double down with a soft 19 against a 6. And that is correct basic strategy for a single deck game. It is not in multiple decks. Right. In that case, you should stay.
Because you've got 19, yeah.
And I was wondering, James, if you got ace 8, yeah, that's soft 19, but that's also a hard 9.
Right.
And wasn't the hard 9 one of the ones that you could double down on? I wonder if you really made a stink about it.
He'd probably come over, a hard 9 is like a 5 and a 4, sir.
Right. It's not something that can also be soft. And, I don't know. If you complain enough, they might let you down.
They might have.
Did you win the hand?
Depending on the pip boss, yeah.
All right. Next call.
Hi, guys. This is an anonymous caller asking you a question if you guys know about how the casinos track slot money in and out. And here's why we ask. My wife and I went to Las Vegas in May of this year. We stayed on the Strip for the most part, but we spent quite a lot of time downtown and really enjoyed it. And especially spent a lot of time at Golden Gate and the D, which share a Players Club program. We got back, and after a few months, we started getting a lot of offers from the D, and they were very generous. 4 night stays or $100 in food, or the one we just got, which we're taking them up on, tickets to their suite to a Vegas Knights game, free transportation to the game, free stays and stuff while we're there. So we were trying to figure out how this happened because we had about $200 a day available to us for gambling, and we won a little bit, but not that much to be considered quote-unquote VIPs. So we pulled the win-loss statements from my wife, and it shows a lot more money than we think might actually be there. So we're trying to figure out how the slot in works. So if she puts a $100 ticket in the machine, hits the button a bunch of times, and then cashes out with $100, and then moves that to another machine, do they see that as another $100 in the machine? As long as you're betting with it, it's cash, because the slot in shows like 10 grand, and the other one shows about 3,500, and I can't imagine that we put that much money in the machine unless that ticket moving from machine to machine makes it look like we're spending a lot more than we are. And she did win a hand pay jackpot, and altogether at both casinos it shows that she won about $1,300 at each of them. So we're just trying to figure out how that works, and maybe it's an error in our favor, and we'll go to the game in February and enjoy their accommodations and live like high rollers, which we've never done before, and just enjoy it and assume it'll never happen again. Or maybe this is part of the system and we really did spend as much as they think we did. We're just trying to figure it out. Anything you guys can shed in would be helpful. Thanks a lot. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
All right. Comps are not based on how much money you put into the machine or multiple machines. Comps are based on how much you play through the machine. So if all you did was go around and put $100 bill in and cash it out right away and do that on a,
you'd earn no comps.
Nothing would happen. So it has nothing to do with how much money you're putting into the machine. It's how much you play. Now, if you saw when you were looking at the stats that your wife had played $10,000, that means that's how much money she played through the machine. Now, that is possible if, well, for example, let's say you were playing a slot where it was $5 a pull. Well, if you did that for 2,000 pulls, then that's $10,000, regardless of how much you might have won and lost after that,
right,
or how much you initially put into the machine. Now, having said that, if you're saying that your budget each day was $200, yeah, this might have been a mistake. It's hard to say, but the comps are based on how much money you play through the machine. Now, I remember we did have a call a while back from somebody who had played, it was the D or Golden Gate, and they had messed up the comps. They thought he was a real high roller like him and his friends. They'd played just very briefly in the high limit slot area, and a host came over and started throwing all this stuff at them. And then like an hour or two later, the host came back and, sorry, that was a mistake.
Right.
I can't comp anything.
Gave him some steak dinners or something,
yeah,
right? Wasn't it?
Right.
And then said, no, I can't comp that.
So maybe something's going on at the D or Golden Gate. But yeah, this might be a mistake. Just take advantage of it, and good idea calling in anonymously and enjoy the game and your stay. So.
Now they're frantically at the D as they listen to this, searching for who,
trying to find out who it was.
Right. With voice recognition and AI, they'll catch him.
That's right. Hopefully that won't happen. Blame us. All right. Next up is Tony.
Mark, Dr. Mike, this is Tony from Jamestown, New York, calling in with a little trip report. I'm out here in Chicago this week for work, so I headed into the Rivers Casino. It's right near O'Hare Airport here in Chicagoland. So I went on a Monday night. There was a good mix of $5, $10, and $25 tables all throughout the floor. They actually had, when I first got there around 7 o'clock, they had Pai Gow poker for $5. So nice. I thought about sitting down there. But I was really there to play craps. I have a craps itch that I needed to scratch. So I headed on over to the crap pit. They had $10 table, 3 15s, and a 25 there this evening. So I settled in at the 10, bought in for 300, ended up finishing down about 150. Oddly enough, though, I had 2 pretty long rolls. I must have made 20 throws on each of the rolls. The first roll, I made a 1 pass on the pass line, and then ended up just throwing a bunch of numbers that weren't any of my come bets at all. On my second roll, Dr. Mike, you'd have cleaned up on this one. I threw 4 12s. I think I had 2 in a row at one point, and then I threw a number, and then I had 2 more 12s come up. So you'd have been cleaning up. The layout itself on the craps table, that's another thing you would have really liked, Dr. Mike. They had the fire bet. They had the all-tall small bet. They had special places on the layout for all the horn high bets. They had a little globe for the world bets and a special little area with all the hot bets called out. So any bet you want to make, they pretty much have it on these tables, except for I did not see a repeater, but there was so much going on that felt it's possible I missed it. Anyway, definitely you should plan a trip out here to Chicago. At least check out the rivers, and you can head down to Indiana and check out the Horseshoe down there. But overall, a good trip. Even though I finished down, the dealers were friendly, and, that's what we look for. We want friendly dealers and a good game and friendly people, and the Rivers Casino on this particular evening had that. So I'll definitely be going back again when I'm back in town for another work trip, and who knows, maybe my luck will turn around on the next one. Take care, guys. Thank you so much for the show. I've listened all the way back. I marathoned from 1 all the way to present, and you guys do a great job. Keep up the work. And keep those podcasts coming.
Yeah, I'm sure that table did not have the repeater bet on it, because that takes up a ton of space on the table.
Yeah, you can't miss that, really.
Yeah, in fact, with the repeater is probably the one side bet where you couldn't have another side bet along with it, like a fire bet or an all tall small.
Yeah, it'd be hard.
They're just maybe a fire bet. It doesn't take up as much room, but it would be nice.
I'll tell you what, 4 12s, you have that repeater bet. That would be a big payout. 4 12s.
That would have been good on the repeater. Yeah. Now, the thing is, with the 12s, you only bet the 12 on the come out roll, though, right?
But on the repeater, I'd have a $10 repeater. So after you rolled the first 2, I win.
Yep.
And then if I go to like 25, 50, or 100, depending on where I'm at, win or loss, that second 2, that's a huge hit.
Yeah. Oh, I know what you're talking about, where you are on a really hot roll, and for whatever reason, the numbers you're on through the pass line and come bets just aren't the numbers being rolled, right? It could even be a 6-8, come out on a 5, then your come bets go to 6 and 8, and then you just shoot, 4s, 9s, and 10s the whole rest of the time. It's frustrating. Yeah, we'll get over to the Chicago area eventually, I'm sure. Like I said, my wife's from that area, so
yeah, I'm surprised you haven't been, actually.
Yeah, it's been a while. All right, next call.
Hi, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Matt from Erie, Pennsylvania. I just downloaded the Fox Bet app, so I'm in Pennsylvania, and I know that people in PA and New Jersey now have some apps in which they could do some online sportsbook stuff. FanDuel has one as well. DraftKings, I believe, is getting one. And so anyways, I downloaded the Fox Bet app. They gave me a free $20 bet, no strings attached. And I was able to convert that into an in-game wager. But the real crux of the story is, as a gift for that, they gave me a $5 casino chip to use. And so I looked at the terms on this casino chip, and it was a $2,500 playthrough to earn my bonus. And so I go to the online blackjack, and I start betting $5, and I'm winning. Cut to 6 hours later, I've made my way through the $2,500 playthrough and still have about $650 left for absolutely nothing. Just submitted the withdrawal, and looks like it should be in my bank account for the next 3 to 7 days. So just want to let you know that, these apps are giving you absolutely no strings attached, free money, and on top of that, they're giving you more money that does have some strings attached, but it was the most incredible blackjack run I've ever had. Okay, guys, thanks. Enjoy what you do. Have a great one.
Now, I've listened to this call several times, and I'm either missing something or maybe Matt left something out, because he said that it was a $5 casino chip.
Yeah.
And so did he bet maybe he meant $500? I don't know. Because then he said he started betting blackjack and was 5 and cashed out for like $600 some dollars.
Yeah, see, I was confused.
Yeah. Anyway, point taken. Anytime you're dealing with, these apps, or when you've any kind of sign up bonus, make sure you're taking advantage of everything that's coming to you. I mean, here's a great example. When we were out for the summit recently, we had not gotten our cards through the new Players Club that the D and Golden Gate share. We had the old cards from when they were separate, right? And so I went up to the Players Club and I said, "Oh yeah, I need a card, because it's new." And he gave me a card, and that was going to be the end of the transaction. And then I said, "Do I have any comps coming, like free play or anything like that?" And he said, "Oh yeah, here, let me check. Oh yeah, you've got $50, right?" So it wasn't something that he offered.
Right.
And maybe he forgot, or maybe he's not supposed to. I don't know. But, sometimes it takes a little digging to find, other bonuses that might be there. So
I'm still a little sore over that. They gave you 50. They gave me 25.
Really?
Yeah. They gave me 25. I didn't get it. He says, "Oh, you get 25, and then in 2 weeks you'll get 25 more."
I think it's the way
I won't be here in 2 weeks.
I think it's the way you treat people, Mike. That's why my host comes by every week when we go to this casino, and yours avoids you like the plague.
Yeah, I don't know. She doesn't like me.
All right, next up is Mike. You're going to hear some noises in the background. It's his puppy that is playing with a squeaky toy. So that's what's in the background.
Sure, Mike.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Mike calling in from Ohio. I just wanted to share kind of a unique trip that my fiance and I just came back from last week to Vegas. The company she works for was sending her out there for a business item, and I basically just tagged along. I had some vacation days left over. The company she works for, they put us up in a hotel that was a couple blocks off the strip, but they had a shuttle going to Mandalay Bay and Aria throughout the day. We were only there for a few days, so we actually tried to stay on East Coast time just to make things a little easier for us. That gave a couple unique benefits. The main one here being that it resulted in some cheap games on the strip when I was just exploring there during the skeleton crew hours. And then, of course, every dinner we had was pretty early in the day, so it almost always ended up being during happy hour, which was pretty great. The main thing that happened that kind of made me think to call you guys, the last day we were there, it was a Saturday morning at Excalibur. I came across the $5 table. We eventually got on one good roll. The shooter was next to me, and he was getting pretty close to making them all. But there was only one person on that bet. He was on the other side, and he had a bet for him for all tall, small, and then he had a couple out for the dealers as well. Well, as our shooter was getting closer to making them all, a gentleman walked up to the table right next to him and just kind of watched. He wasn't buying in yet, but he noticed how close he was to making them all. And this guy just started complaining to the rest of us at the table. He hadn't even really joined the table yet, but he made himself known very quickly that he wasn't happy that the rest of us who were playing had left so many thousands of dollars up for grabs by not making this bet. I almost thought he was joking at first. Like, I thought he was just trying to have a laugh. But he just, every time he spoke, he would just complain and complain. Every time a new number got made for that bet, it would just start over again. And he was gloating about how easy it is to actually win this bet because, of course, he had just done it yesterday. Of course, during this roll, our shooter does make it all. And you could see the disgust on this guy's face at this point. Eventually, the shooter finally sevens out, and the dice come over to me. And the guy who had been complaining finally gets a chance to buy in. He buys in for $20. And he spent the remainder of his time at the table just making the all tall small bets for $1 a piece until he ran out of his last single. Still huffing and puffing about how much money he missed out on because he just showed up at the table like not soon enough. But when he finally ran out, he just marched away. And the rest of us were just kind of looking at each other at that point. I know people love to make those bets, and I know people have fun with that kind of stuff. But it's weird to me when you come across someone who is, I guess, like a sucker bet fanatic. I think this guy truly believed that was the best way to play, making that bet. So I was interested if you guys had come across any situations like that, or like how you deal with that kind of an attitude. Just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on that. Want to say thanks for everything you guys do. I have a long commute. I listen to a lot of podcasts throughout my week, but this show, as well as 500, easily the two shows that I look forward to the most every week. So thanks again for what you do, guys. Bye.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, I don't know that we've seen that extreme. I mean, there are definitely people who love the side bets.
Yeah,
and love
that's quite a character, though.
Yeah.
$20 puts $1 on each of them. And he's complaining about other people not winning?
Yeah, I think that's it, right? Because he knows better.
Yeah.
These idiots. He wants to let them know how stupid they are. Yeah, it's just an extreme case of side bet shaming.
Yeah.
That you do see. I mean, but I don't know to that extreme.
I just can't understand why somebody would go through their life and want to, get on other people's case because they didn't do something. Worry about yourself.
Maybe he really hates the casino.
Yeah, right.
Maybe he really hates Excalibur. And just,
right.
This is...
Oh, God, you guys could have taken them. Oh, he'd love me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he should just come. Next time, as a matter of fact, Mike, if you ever happen to run in that, just send him my way. I'll just I'll put 25 on each of them.
Dr. Mike's
time.
over there.
Yeah.
Watch him.
Watch me. I'll put 25 on him every time and see how well I do, how that hits so often.
All right, next call.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is BT out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. Relatively still new to gambling. It made probably, less than a dozen trips or so. But been out to Vegas a couple times. My last trip, we were at the craps table at the Bellagio. While it was still a $10 table, and it went to $15. But since we were grandfathered in, they essentially let us keep betting $10. Guy next to me rolling ended up hitting the first ever all small tall that I've seen. Just so happened the guy next to him kept throwing $100 on the all every time, which I thought was crazy until he got paid $15,000. One thing I noticed was there was no tipping after that. To the dealer or to the shooter, he just took his money and then colored up and walked away, which I thought was a little, maybe a little rude. What would you have done in that situation? 2, my actual home casino is in Murphy, North Carolina, the Harrah's Valley River, which I go about once a month now. My last visit there, took off of work on a Friday and kind of just went up there, went to the craps table. First roller in on the $10 table, hit the all bet again when I just had $1 on it. But, by that time you're getting paid for the all, the small and the tall, so you're getting $210 out of the $3 bet. So it just kind of filled the trip, turned $100 into $750. So overall, it was a great trip. It's a good casino. The dealers really know what they're doing there, it seems like. So if you're ever taking a vacation to the mountains, make sure and hit me up. I've been through about 25% of your shows. I'm a big fan already, and just trying to play catch up now. Hope you guys have a great day. Thanks.
Yeah, good. Thanks. Okay, so somebody wins $15,000 on the all.
Yeah.
and doesn't tip. So, okay, maybe he's just not a tipper. That's not his style. Or who knows? Maybe he's down $100,000 for the trip. You really don't know. Maybe he's had some bad experiences with the way he was treated by dealers. I'm speculating here, but you never know why somebody might not tip. But you've been in that situation, I know, a lot of times, Mike.
But even when I'm down, significantly down, if I have a big hit, I tip.
I know, but I remember there was a case, and we kind of talked about this situation on the last show, where somebody else was rolling, and you won a lot, like on a 12 or on a 7, something like that. And they were trying to pressure you into tipping them, the shooter.
Right.
And you were down a ton for the night. Right. So, I think you even said something like, well, yes, as soon as I get another, 1,500 or 2,000 or whatever, then,
I think it was,
So you never know,
Right. It's hard to judge. It's hard to walk in anybody's shoes.
Sure. Yeah, exactly.
Right. But if you do have a big hit, it's nice to.
Yeah, I don't know, 15,000, maybe at least $100.
But you might want to, tip the dealers a little.
All right, we got some more tipping talk coming. Let's hear from Alex.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. I hope y'all are doing well. This is Alex from Atlanta, Georgia. Just calling to give a brief trip report and ask a question. I was in Cherokee, North Carolina this past weekend with my wife. I played craps exclusively and pretty much got creamed. However, I did take a look at the electronic craps table, and in all honesty, it looks depressing because you have everybody around the table sitting down, looking at a screen, placing their bets, and the only one standing is the stick man and the shooter. After the roll, everybody's just quiet, placing their bets for the next roll. It seems like craps for the antisocial. Yeah, I don't think I could play that game. It's quiet, nobody claps, there's really no reaction. Or maybe I just saw a dead crowd. I've got a question regarding tipping. I usually tip while I'm playing, so I'll, do a two-way, hard way, or I'll place bets for the dealers. And my question is at the end when I cash out. Obviously, I didn't have any trouble this time because I cashed out with pretty much nothing, so I didn't leave any tip afterwards. But when I do win, even though I've been betting for the dealers along the way, if I cash out with a good sum, I kind of feel obligated to tip something, even though I've been betting for them the whole time. It's just a question. What do you guys do? Do y'all tip after you're cashed out, or do you consider your tips throughout the game enough? Anyways, hope you guys are doing well.
Well, certainly if you've had a losing session, don't feel obligated to tip. And the dealers aren't going to expect it anyway, right? They know that you lost. But if it's up to you. Yes, you're tipping during the roll, but
I never tip at the end.
I know you don't because
never. I tip the whole time I'm playing.
You're very aggressive though with your tipping.
Yeah,
you're very aggressive.
I tip a lot while I'm playing.
Yeah,
and then at the end I just cash out and say thanks, and everything. Yeah. I don't know that you need. Now some people never tip while they're playing, and then at the end they give them a little tip.
Right.
And I'm not going to say what I think about that because it'll get me in trouble.
Okay.
But yeah, you can do either way.
I think it's up to you.
But I don't think you have to do both.
If you have been tipping along the way, don't feel obligated to tip at the end, even if you did win.
Right.
But if you want to, maybe just toss them the extra chips that you have. And by that, I mean like the $1 and $5 chips. You've got $3 at the end, 3 white ones. Throw that in. That's fine.
Unless you're the guy putting quarters in his pocket and you've got all red chips. Take them all. I got all these greens.
I'm talking about after you color up, all right? After you color up.
Yeah, if you cash out and you got $512, a lot of people just give them the 12, right? Especially if you're in for, say, 300 or something.
But the dealers know that you've been tipping the whole time.
Right.
So, again, it's up to you. Yeah. All right, last call.
Hey, Mark and Dr. David. This is Nova Mike from outside of D.C. First time, long time, one of those lucky folks who's heard every one of your episodes. I had a short trip report. It's really a rest stop report. I was heading up to New York for a wedding from the D.C. area. I was by myself. The kids and wife were staying at home. So instead of stopping at a rest stop, I made sure to stop at a casino on the way. Now, a lot of casinos have opened over the years on the 95 corridor, like every half hour or so from D.C. through New Jersey. It's ridiculous. You got MGM National Harbor, Maryland Live, then the Horseshoe in Baltimore, then Hollywood Casino by Perryville, Delaware Park, Harrah's, Sugar House, Parks. It's great. So my stop was at the Hollywood Casino in Perryville. It's a small casino right off of 95. My buddy was getting married on October 4th, which was 10-4, so I wanted to make some bets for him. So I went to a roulette table, put some money down on the 10 and the 4. Didn't go so well. had about $50 left, went to a craps table. They only had one craps table there, so went to the one craps table, put $25 down on the hard 4 and 25 on the hard 10. First roll was soft 10, so only had the hard 4 left. The shooter proceeded to then roll for, it had to have been about 10 minutes without hitting a 7, and I'm standing there. I was so mad because, first of all, I wasn't playing my normal bets, and I had to get back on the road to make this wedding. So another 5 minutes or so go by, and I said to the dealer, I was like, all right, I can't wait anymore. Hop the hard 4, next roll, $25. Shooter rolls, boom, there it is, hard 4. One of the dealers joked about it being fishy, but it was all good-natured. I wish I had the ability to do that. So, that paid $750, tipped the shooter and dealers $25 each, and all my net winnings went as a nice wedding present to my buddy. So I thought you'd enjoy that. Love the show. Hopefully see you guys at some point. Dr. Mike, I'm not sure when you're going to the rodeo this year. Hopefully I'll see you that weekend. Have a good one. Bye.
All right. Good story. Yeah.
That's the best wedding gift ever, right?
Yeah.
The best wedding gift ever. And you give him the cash, and then when he finds out how you got
it. That's the thing. It's the story that's the gift.
Right. That's the best wedding gift ever.
Now, you're not going to the rodeo, but you're going to be going for the great gift
this year we're
wrap-up.
not going to go to the rodeo.
Right. Okay. And you're going to be there the first full weekend in December, which is, I believe, December 6th through the 8th.
6th through the 8th.
Correct, right? So Friday through Sunday.
And we probably won't get there. We won't leave San Diego till about 3.
Okay.
So we'll get there late Friday.
Okay.
We'll be there all day Saturday and some of Sunday morning.
Okay.
So.
All right. So not too much time. Basically, it's just Saturday.
Yeah, basically it's Saturday, but it's a full Saturday.
Yeah, right. Okay, good. And of course, I'll be tweeting on your behalf. So if you want to meet up with Dr. Mike, watch our Twitter account.
if I'm not in the restaurant or the gift shop with my family.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. All right, well, that's going to do it for this episode. Hey, we want to thank some people for some PayPal donations. First of all, recurring donations from Nathan, Brian Dancer, Brian and Sarah, and Joshua. Thanks very much for those recurring donations. Also, a donation from Dana, Karma donation for an upcoming Vegas trip. My 7-year-old asked my husband the other day, why does mom always listen to the same thing over and over? Had to explain it's the same guys, just different shows. Love the podcast. Dana from Fargo.
Yeah, to a 7-year-old, it probably does sound like the same. All they talk about is craps.
That's right.
When are they going to get to some sickbo?
Meanwhile, she's watching Frozen 10 times a day.
Right.
Also, a donation from Grant. Karma donation for my trip to AC Bally's next weekend. Also, karma donation for my first trip to Vegas with my dad, December 15th through the 20th. Staying at Caesars. Comped me all week. Will call with report. Thank you for the countless hours of entertainment. Thanks, Grant. Also, a donation from our buddy Bill. A karma donation from an upcoming trip to Vegas where I will hopefully be rolling some dice with Dr. Mike. Are you sure you can't make the great gift wrap-up also, Mark? Think of all the points you're not redeeming. P.S. Please remind Dr. Mike to bring the luck. Yeah,
I don't know where that luck is. I'm going to have to search far and wide for that.
I have not been to the great gift wrap-up before because every time I look at how many points I do have, it's just not really worth the trip. So,
right.
And that's kind of the case.
Well,
again
an
this year,
interesting thing, one of the listeners was talking about cashing in his points for free play.
Oh, yeah, we got that email from Jeremy.
From Jeremy, which you can do. It's so funny because he's talking about, how much free play he's going to get, and it's tempting. But for me, the gift wrap up is the time to get some gifts for my kids and wife. Mm-hmm. And so I get all gifts for them. They're going to get iPhones and computer stuff.
And your wife goes through this all beforehand, right? Goes through the catalog. So when you go, you
she
don't
has
really
it all
spend much
planned
time.
out. No, I go in and just get the little slips and pay for it. But for me, if I got the free play, I just go play it. And I come back with, nothing probably. This way I come back and then in the mail, a few days later, Amazon stops at your house and drops off some iPhones and stuff.
Whatever makes you happy, Dr. Mike.
Well, it makes my family happy.
Okay, that's important too. And finally, a donation from Kevin. Karma donation for upcoming Vegas trip December 6th for a week. going to play craps for the first time. Well, Kevin, look up Dr. Mike. If you're there, you might see him. That's when he's going to be there. So.
Yeah, come and play some craps with me if it's your first time, please. You're the guy that's got the luck.
Exactly.
Kevin, bring your luck to me and we'll make some money.
Hey, be sure to check out our TV listings showing all the gambling-related shows coming up within the next 2 weeks. We update those listings every Wednesday using a customized program that searches through all the raw American TV data. Just go to youcanbetonThat.com/TV-listings. We'd love to hear from you. Call our voicemail hotline at 951-292-4377. That's 9512-WAGERS.
9512-WAGERS.
Or you can email us at youcanbetonThat@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at YouCanBetOnThat. And on Facebook at facebook.com/YouCanBetOnThat. Finally, please go to your favorite podcast app and write a review on us. We love getting your feedback. How you feeling, Dr. Mike? You got through this with not much coughing.
Yeah. Just a little bit of coughing, yeah. Hey, I've got an interesting Los Angeles Chargers story for you.
Okay.
You're going to like this.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
So, just this last Monday night, they played in Mexico City.
Mm-hmm, right.
And I guess some Charger fans went down there.
Okay.
And we're all staying in a hotel. Now, these are people who are huge Charger fans because, they paid for plane trips to Mexico City and hotel rooms and tickets to the game. And, they obviously are big fans if you're going to do that, right? So they're at this hotel and Dean Spanos is there.
Okay, owner of the Chargers.
Owner of the Chargers. And gets up to... It felt like it was his duty to get up and say something to these fans. So I heard this on one of the local sports stations here. So one of the fans actually got his phone out to record this. So I didn't see the actual video, but I heard the audio on the radio.
Okay.
So the funny thing is he gets up to talk and they unmercifully booed him.
Really?
I mean, you could not even hear his voice.
Yeah.
You could hear kind of he was talking, but it was just boo, boo, get off, get
Wow.
off. Just yelling at him. And I got such a kick out of that because this guy is so clueless.
Yeah, see, this is a good example of people who still support the team, but rightfully so hate the ownership.
Yeah, and it's so funny. Why would he feel like he had to get up and talk to these people? Because they were booing him like crazy. Now, maybe it wasn't all of them. I don't know. I didn't see the video, but whoever it was loud enough that they drowned him out.
He must just be isolated and just doesn't realize
he must think that people really are on board with him or something. Oh, well, they're 4-7.
Yes, and I think you had even told Vinny Chens that his bet was absolutely going to win, the bet that they would not make the playoffs, and it looks like it's going to come true.
Oh, God, it's so ridiculous. Yeah. They've eliminated themselves. They might as well lose every other game. Seriously. I mean, I know that an owner or a coach can't come out and say that. Yeah. And players, too. If you want your team to be better next year, lose every other game.
Yeah.
Get the highest possible draft pick you can. Yep. What difference does it make if you're the worst team or the team that just missed the playoffs?
Yep.
Right? The only difference is you don't get as good a draft pick.
Yeah. Yep.
Anyway, I'm still very excited about football. We're actually doing pretty well at football.
Not too bad. Yeah, not too bad, both college and NFL.
We just can't do it during the podcast superiority poll.
No, that's where we're terrible. Well, happy Thanksgiving to all our American listeners, and we will have one more episode before you go to Vegas, Mike, so
and to Richard, happy Canadian Thanksgiving.
That was back in October.
I know, but we didn't say it.
We should have said
something to him because they have a Thanksgiving too.
Well, yeah, they do. All right, thanks for listening.
Good night.
Oh, sweet mother, I love you, Dr. Mike.